Hello, welcome to Postcolonial Space. I'm Masood Raja, and this brief video is in my series on academic writing tips. And today I'll be talking about block quotes. Now, you probably have always used them, and maybe you've used them correctly. But if you're following the MLA style, any direct quote which is longer than 3 lines is supposed to be block quoted. Now, most of the times, the problem that we have with block quotes is that people just quote 4 or 5 lines from a text and then move on with their paper or their dissertation chapter. The most important thing about block quotes to remember is that you have to introduce a block quote, then quote your materials, and then you have to unpack it. What that implies is that you can't just intersperse your paper with quotes that you have not discussed. So the purpose of a block quote is that you feel it necessary that instead of paraphrasing, you need to directly cite a longer chunk of someone else's work. But it shouldn't just be there just to pad the length of your writing. It serves a purpose, right? And the purpose that it serves is that it allows you to discuss more specifically what parts of someone else's research or discussion are you incorporating in your paper or in your book or dissertation chapter. So keep that in mind. Block quotes are used sparingly in any given text to offer a more concise but also precise discussion of someone else's argument that you are going to build on within the body of your own paper or your own chapter. And since that's the purpose they serve, you must always unpack them. You must always discuss them. So I have an example from one of my own papers. So if you look at your screens, and I hope you can read it, this is just an example from one of the articles that I published a few years ago. And in this article, I am discussing Rohinton Mistry's A Fine Balance. But I want to approach it through Mark Brocker's work. But within that, it's Mark Brocker's discussion of Martha Nussbaum's approach to, what can literature do that he critiques that I'm using. So if you look at the quote, right above it is my brief introduction to here is what Mark Brocker says. Then I quote Brocker's opinion on Martha Nussbaum's work. The next paragraph unpacks how and why Brocker is criticizing Martha Nussbaum and why is it important for my argument. So that's what I'm trying to suggest is that for block quotes, it has to be a seamless insertion of a block quote with a brief introduction and then, what it does for your paper. You have to explain it. And so that way, your use of block quotes will be more effective. It won't come across as padding or as redundant, and it will serve the purpose that it does, and that is gives you a chance to very precisely cite someone's work. If it's more than 3 lines, cite it as a block quote, and then discuss it before you connect it to your own argument. So that's all I wanted to share today. I will post a link to this paper in the description. You might find that even I sometimes fail to take my own advice, but most of the times I do always try to unpack if I have used a longer block quote. And I will highly recommend that you should do this too for your dissertations as well as for your papers and even your books. That's all. Thank you so much. Stay safe, take care of each other, and I will see you next time. Until then, as always, peace and love.